Hey guys, it's Tom Bucks. Welcome to MST.TV, and I just had a dream where I was in a mirror through it. That was a terrible intro. Should have just stuck with the JoJo references. But yes, we're talking about dream mirrors today. So if those of you guys want to skip right on ahead to the deck profile, sorry, that way, just go ahead and do so. But for those of you guys who want to be entertained, well, stay tuned because I'm going to be sharing with you guys a bit of a story. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, and ding the notification bell so Ding Girzu doesn't send your monster to the graveyard. Okay, previously I featured this deck on Team Samurai X1's channel. That was the Rising Rampage variant of the deck, so it didn't have all the new monsters, all the new bells and whistles that they're offering right now. But I made a lot of complaints about the deck, about how to fix the deck, because there were two aspects of the deck that made it particularly awful to play. It was highly reliant on chance that you don't brick, because in terms of deck playability, there is three aspects: deck building, playstyle, and adaptability. If you suck at deck building, the other two parts won't even matter, because deck building is the consistency and the ability to maximize consistent plays. So the deck suffers from deck building issues. So you have to run 6 copies of a field spell that does not offer you any sort of card advantage. That's pretty bad already, which means that if you open multiples, they're just bricks. So rather than talking about like 1 card combo, 2 card combo, we're talking about 1 card bricks, 2 card bricks, 3 card bricks, even 4 card bricks, because you opened the wrong combination. And that goes to issue number 2. The typing was difficult to search. Difficult meaning that there was no archetype specific way to search out any of your cards, and that was a huge problem because level 1 fairies are not exactly the most searchable typing, and then the level 8 warriors weren't easy to search either. So what are you going to do then? So you're forced to open with the correct mirror with the correct monster, opposite colors of each other, and if you don't have that, it's a brick again. So those were some of the main complaints I had, and then I was like, hey, you're lacking kind of a win con. So those are the main things, and Konami actually answered. So praise you guys for actually fixing up the deck. First of all, they gave us a search card, which is very much like Tenki. They gave us the ability of double metaversing by putting 2 field spells straight out of the deck onto the field and 1 onto the opponent's side. It's not even an activation, so you can actually play it under anti-spell fragrance, and you can also play it under set rotation that your opponent put on you. So you can even break a Mystic Mind. So that's why I'm really happy about it. And you know what? I'm going to try my luck here. If you really want to push this deck to top tier level, just give us a draw card. Call it Dream Mirror Shatter. You shatter the mirror by discarding a Dream Mirror card. You can draw 2 cards and give us a banish effect. You can banish this card and Dream Mirror spell from the grave and set a trap directly from the deck. If you give us that, I think the deck is going to be super playable. Because you just have that consistency. Even if you open multiple mirrors, you can just discard it and draw cards, or maybe even use it as a graveyard protection effect. I don't know. The graveyard protection, don't forget about it, is really important. Now let's go into the deck profile now. So we have a main deck, an extra deck, and a list on the side so you guys can follow along or just get that list down out of the way. To start off with the main monster here, we have Ikelos, the Dream Mirror Sprite. In fact, all of the Dream Mirror monsters, they are able to tribute themselves to summon out the dark or light version, the opposite version of the one that you already have. So just keep that in mind, and they all have a summon trigger effect based off of a Dream Mirror monster effect. So if you trigger it, this one, you get to add any Dream Mirror card, which is essential because you want to add, the first card you want to add would be the Dream Mirror Trap Hypnagogia. The second thing you might want to add would be the Black Knight, because if you have the Black Knight, you can use it as a disruption. If you want additional disruption, you can also add Dream Mirror Fantasy as like kind of like going down in terms of the priority. So this is one of your key monsters, and you can tag them out, and when you tag them out, they get the other monster that summons that get their other effect. So that's why having both mirrors make it so that you can just constantly tag out. All the tagging out is once per turn, but it's once per turn per attribute, so that's pretty nice. So I'm gonna call them by their, I guess, their last word rather than their actual name, because their actual name counts for 2 monsters. So this is Ikelos Mara. Mara is a dark one, lets you summon a card from your hand, and that counts as a Dream Mirror summon as well, so it does proc the effects. Very important to maintain this one, and a lot of the times, because all of these tagging their quick effects, you can manipulate your graveyard just so that you can get an additional body. So you can activate the effect and then activate the fusion quick play, and then you can just basically use the monsters in the graveyard for the fusion material. So there's that to kind of maximize on card advantage. Then we have Phantastos, the Dream Mirror Friend, and of course we have the Foe, Friend and Foe combo. This one summons out from the graveyard. This is the Monster Reborn. This one is the 19 beat stick that attacks directly if you summon from the deck. Some people only want to run 1 copy. I'm running 2 because there have been some instances where I wanted it, and I just think it's a nice card. But if you want to cut it for like hand traps, this is probably one of the cards, the first card to cut. But you definitely don't need 2 of them. You can definitely try it out. I'm enjoying 2 just because I don't mind seeing him. Because in terms of hand, you want to maintain like multiple types of Dream Mirror monsters in your hand just so that you can get all their effects off all at once. And then we have Morpheus, White Knight, Black Knight. Pops any card when you summon it. And this one is Protection. So what the protection is, your opponent cannot destroy this card by battle or card effects. So if this card's in defense mode. And the field spells, they do have some level of advantage that offers you if you have the correct matching attribute to the mirror. Anyways, this is what they're for. And to do an OTK, usually an OTK involves like just 2 monsters. You just spam out monster after monster after monster after monster, and you can usually push for game. If that's not enough, then you can tag for this sprite and add the fusion quick play spell, and then just fuse on the battle phase, and then you can kill your opponent. So that's one of the win cons. So for the field spells, we have 3 bundles of joy and triple terror Diablo. Okay, so why do you have to run all of these? Well, luckily in one turn you can actually go through about 5 copies of them. So let me just demonstrate it to you why you run 6. So say you want to get your Dream Mirror Fantasy live. So you need 2 banished field spells, 1 of each color. And luckily, just activating a field spell already achieves that. And then you want to activate Hypnagogia. So you need a copy of Light, and you also need a copy of the Dark one. So you have 1 Joy and 1 Terror that's going to go onto each side of the field zones. So just based off of that, during the end phase, this is going to happen. This is going to banish to activate the joy from the deck, and in the same end phase you can banish the same joy to activate the terror. So now you're back to that copy of terror. So now you have 2 field spells that are banished, and then during your opponent's turn, upon their draw phase or whatever, that if they don't play field spells, if they do play field spells, then you can wait on the Hypnagogia. But say you Hypnagogia, this one goes to the graveyard because your field spell needs to empty out, and you go ahead and place 1, and you place 1, and now you're only down to 1 field spell left. And that's why you run 6, because if you run 5 and you draw into one of them, you might not be able to do it anymore and keep your cards live. Luckily, these cards can actually go back into the deck, so if you have multiple copies of Hypnagogia and your opponent pops off your field spell, then you're going to need to put 2 back onto the field some way or another. So that's why you run 6 copies of the field spell. Having it in the graveyard is not that great, which is why I request that, hey Konami, give us something that can banish the field spell and then like set the trap so that we have a live trap that we can activate. That's why I requested it, guys. So moving on, triple search card Dream Mirror Phantasms. You can only activate 1 per turn, which is okay. Search cards being once per turn should be a legitimately fair thing to be. The reason why I'm running 3 copies of this is because I can fix up my hand. The importance of having the level 1 is there, but having also one of the level 8s in your hand during your opponent's turn is also essential for disrupting their play. This is a control deck after all. And if Joy is on the field, all your monsters, I believe, gain attack, and if Terror is on the field, all your opponent's monsters lose 500 attack. I can tell you this right now, a Dream Mirror match is going to be one of the most entertaining things to watch. So I hope someone else builds this deck and plays me and then get it recorded. It'd be hilarious. The fusion spell, Dream Mirror of Chaos, you can only fuse with stuff on the field. Luckily, it's a quick play spell. But on top of that, I kind of want to point out that if you do have the other mirrors on the field, Joy lets you start fusing from your hand, and Terror lets you banish materials from the graveyard, so fuse from the grave as well. So that's a pretty decent fusion spell. But I think the key part is it's a quick effect, so that's pretty nice. Then we have triple Pot of Extravagance. This is my peasant rare proxy. It's just because you don't rely on your extra deck as much. You play fusions, but you play like super poly fusions for the most of it just to break a board. And it's really nice to have that card advantage, especially with this deck. Triple Call by the Grave because you don't want to get Ash, because Ash hurts a lot more. Ash removes your monster because you tribute for cost to summon out stuff from the deck. And you can lose some of your big beaters through Ash, and that's why Call by the Grave is absolutely essential in this deck. Being a combo and control deck, 1 terraforming so they can at least get 1 mirror out onto the field. We have 2 copies of Dream Mirror Fantasy. It has a grave effect to protect your cards, which is, I think, one of the better things that people keep on forgetting. So that they, I try to attack over your cards. Well, I'm just going to banish this card to protect my cards now. So there's that. But it has non-targeting banishing removal. So this card is pretty good if you can set it up. It's nice to have in your hand if you have a setup. It's really bad if you don't have a setup. It's a kind of a brick. Then we have triple yugioh. Some people are like, oh, just play 2. It's fine if you play 2. No, this is an essential card. I tried all those builds with 2, and when you don't have it, it feels so bad. It feels like I'm playing the previous version of the deck, and it's just not good. Having this at all times is one of the ideal situations. And sometimes you can have it, and since you have traps, you can always have it with Trap Trick. I've had a funny setup because they're like, oh, but you want to activate multiple traps, Trap Trick, but Trap Trick can only activate one more trap. True. That is true, but you can also have yugioh, activate the yugioh, set up both field spells, and then activate Trap Trick because it's for the rest of the turn you're locked out. Then you can go ahead and drop in your fantasy and have that ready for them as well, which is why Trap Trick is very versatile, and I would not underestimate it. As you can see, I don't actually have a lot of cards to like stop my opponent from setting up. So right now, if you want to cut some cards, you can cut one fantasy. You can cut the Trap Tricks if you want, just so that you can put some ashes in here. But for siding, you can adapt to it through siding. So yeah, it's triple yugioh and double Trap Trick, of course. And for our last card, we have Dream Mirror or rorriM. So rorriM is your counter trap. It's basically a it's kind of like a Black Horn of Heaven, where you can negate a special summon if you have Dream Mirror of Terror, and if you have Dream Mirror of Joy, you can negate a spell and trap, and you destroy the card if you negate it. So it's pretty good. Some builds were like running triples of this. It's very nice to see as a hard draw, but you don't want multiples of this because, of course, you can only activate one per turn. And on top of it, just activating one per turn, without a Dream Mirror, this card is pretty bad. It's just one of those cards that could be something else that you wish, and that's why I only play 1. Some people are like, oh no, it's a 3 of, you have to play 3. I don't agree with you guys. I tried it out. It was just really awkward. I prefer having a fantasy with a non-targeting removal effect over having a rorriM just so that I can hope for the chance. Although it is very solid if you get the effect off, especially when they try to go to the link. You just negate the summon and just get rid of it entirely. So that is the main deck. Let's go into the extra deck. Extra deck is going to be pretty quick because the main monster here is Oneros, the Dream Mirror Earl King, triples of it because you don't want to extravagance away all your copies. But okay, so Oneros counts as both a light and a dark monster. So this is a double attribute monster, and it has 2 effects. One can help you pop a card in the field anytime one of your monster is tributed. You get to target a card in the field and destroy it. So that's pretty good. That's once per turn, of course. And if this card in the owner's possession is destroyed, you can special summon out a Dream Mirror monster from the graveyard. So whatever that you fuse into her, that's going to be your business. It's going to be pretty good, so you can proc their effect as well. So you could get a damage steppable pop. You could get a damage steppable search. That's why she's there. But one thing I want to point out in terms of rulings right now, so that you don't make that misplay, Dream Mirror Friend cannot special summon out this card because Dream Mirror Friend can only summon out a level 8 or lower Dream Mirror monster from the graveyard. So there's your limitation right there. It's not going to be like, oh, this card pops, this card summons, this card brings it back. No, that doesn't happen. This is the level 10 monster. I'm sorry, guys. That's just how it is. So that is not a possible strategy. But you could technically summon this card out, and then you can summon this one out so you can get a double summon on your turn. During the damage step of all places. So that is pretty cool. Outside of that, that is basically it for the monster here. Everything else here is super poly fodder. So we have, of course, Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, Starving Venom, and another copy of Starving Venom. You don't have to do it like this. You guys can definitely play Utopia double, just max out on it because you can get 2 level 4s. Not too hard. And then that's another win con for you. I'm just not playing it because I'd rather just play Super Poly and break some boards. If they play Cyber Dragons, of course, we have Cyber Dragon cards as well. We just try to max out on whatever we think is useful. Double Phoenix so that we can pop off some cards. Double Cerberus because we want to pop off some cards. You usually want to keep most of your monsters not as link monsters anyway. And that's why you only really need the fusion because that's really all you really need. 1 Barricade Borg Blocker. Maybe you can add back 1 of your mirrors. Maybe you can add back 1 of your other cards. And of course, we have a Muddy Mud Dragon. That is the extra deck. On the side list, I'm probably not even going to care too much except for the triple Earl King, and everything else along the way is just super poly and just extra deck tech. It doesn't really matter. Just tune it to your own liking. And I guess we can demonstrate some plays. We're just going to test some hands here. So this is a fixed hand test where one of the cards is fixed. We have Dreamer, yugioh, and the other 4 cards are going to be random just to kind of play test it a bit further. We have a Dreamer of Terror. We have a Call by the Grave, Fantasy, and a maerD. You know what? This is actually not too bad. This is very much a playable hand, and I'll just showcase it because most of the cards actually played on your opponent's turn anyway. So, you know what? Let's go ahead and just summon this card out, set this one, activate this one, set this one, set the last call by the grave, and call it a turn. Pass turn, and then during the end phase, of course, Dreamer of Terror. Terror gets banished, and it goes into Joy. Joy gets banished. And now we have Terror once again. Okay. Seems like, oh my god, Tombox, you can't tag out anymore. So during the end phase, we got all that. So right at the beginning of their turn, you can go ahead and use Haptic yugioh. Or if they play field spells, you can wait for the field spell, send this one to the graveyard now, and go ahead and put Joy on your side and put Terror on their side. The burn effect is not worth it unless you're playing into time, so just keep that in mind. You really just lock your opponent into time and they just lose. And in this case, you have a live fantasy and you have a call by the grave. Since we have the maerD, we're going to go ahead and tag out this maerD. Okay, and we have 2 disruptions here. You just can't see the other disruption just yet. So we're going to go into Sprite. Sprite's effect. We're going to add ourselves a Black Knight. And with the Black Knight, we can kind of pop your opponent's card. If they summon something that is a key combo piece, you just tag this out. And you go into maerD. If they try to do anything, there's a call by the grave for you. And we summon out our maerD once again. maerD's on the field. maerD's effect, it's going to special summon a monster from our hand. We're going to summon this, and we're going to pop their monster, or pop their card, rather, because it pops for any card. And this one can also tag out again. Wow. Wow, everything is so free. Now we tag out into Morpheus. Morpheus is the highest level monster, therefore it can be the only monster that is targeted. Now, upon special summoning, it is now cannot be destroyed by battle or card effect, which makes it so that you have another disruption through Dream Fantasy. You don't even have to worry about most of the targeting based negation because you just tag out and you just chain. Yeah, that's why it's pretty crazy. You can technically tag this card out as well because this was summoned through a different monster, so this one hasn't used its tag effect. So if you want to tag the White Knight Morpheus, you can go back into the Black Knight, but this one won't pop because the popping effect is once per turn. So that is kind of the gist of it. So you have one maerD and you have the double thing. You can set up a board like that, or this if you want to be a bit more safe and save your pop on your own turn to go for the OTK, because if you use Fantasy to put these cards back into the deck, banish a card, and on your own turn, if you hit all the back row, you can go ahead and go into Morpheus to pop the front row, and that's a lot of damage you can output. Because if I'll just showcase it to you guys right now, what happens if you have 2 monsters available and double mirror. Okay, if you have 2 Dream Mirror monsters, you can basically push for a game if you have both mirrors on the field. In this case, I'm going to showcase the fusion and also showcase if you can't access your fusion because you banished all your targets. Starting with this one, just punch with these 2, whatever you can, 28 and 500, sure, it's 33. Now you begin your actual quest to break your opponent's will by summoning Ikolos, these Dream Mirror Sprite. This is going to give you a search. If you have the fusion still available, go ahead and get the Fusion of Chaos, the Dream Mirror of Chaos. And you can go ahead and tag that out if you want already, or you can just tag this one out, summon out the Dream Mirror Knight, and punch them again for an additional 1,000. That would be about 4,300 if you didn't have any sort of attack boost. And in this case, you can tag this one out, and then chain Dream Mirror of Chaos. Go ahead and just banish the 2 sprites. That's going to summon out this card. And because in the turn we've already tributed, well, we still have one more tribute, so we can go ahead and tribute this to summon out another copy of the Black Knight, and you can punch once again. And because something was tributed on your turn, this will pop a card. This upon summon will pop a card. This is the amount of damage that you've outputted. You have hit them for 28, 28, 3,000, 1,500 twice. And that's the damage output you have simply because you have 2 mirrors, and that's how you're going to OTK someone if their board is already broken, or you can break their board along the way as long as they don't have any sort of protection. That's one way of doing it, but what if you don't have this Dream Mirror of Chaos? Reset. Okay, so back in this stage where we banished all our Nereses because Pot of Extravagance gave us the draw and hopefully helped us break the board, now we're down to this part again. So if you have 2 monsters, and remember, the monsters that's on the field are the ones that get summoned twice, so just double that damage and just kind of calculate it from there. So we have a maerD and a Black Knight. we're gonna go punch, and then tag out the Mara into the Sprite. Sprite's gonna give us a search. We're gonna search for the foe now because foe is easy summon. This is one we're gonna tag out as well. We're gonna summon out the White Knight, get the punch in. This one doesn't punch at all because she's just there, just being cute. And we're gonna tag her out back into the Mara. Mara's effect is gonna summon out the foe. This can attack directly, and we're gonna punch directly with this one as well. This one's gonna tag out once again. Black Knight again, attack again, pop a card. This one's gonna tag out now. We're gonna summon out the Friend. Friend is just there just for card advantage and an additional 900 damage, and we're gonna bring back a monster. Might as well just bring back the White Knight because why not? It has to be defense position. You can't punch with that one. But that being said, we can go ahead and tag this one out again. Remember, the monsters that summon first gets to tag out into a second copy, and we're going to grab another foe, and we get to go ahead and punch again. And if we calculate the damage here, we've got this here is 28. This is about 47. And this is another 50 something, another 1,000, and another 1,000, and there you go. That's how you kind of punch your opponent for a game. That's the amount of damage you can output if you have two monsters. The pathing changes, but it's pretty easy to hit that 8,000 mark if you break the board. So that's all I got for this video, guys. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. It really helps out the channel if you do that. Just a simple click, guys, and I'm forever grateful, really. And I'm gonna see if I can do some live duels with some of these decks that I've already built and see which one of these will have an impact on the meta. Are they rogue? Are they actually perhaps among the tier list? We will find out once we play around with them some more. And make sure you hit that subscribe